You know, right now, politics is killing me, and it's killing everybody. There's an overload. It's an avalanche. Let's call it an avalanche. It's way over the top. And in the past, in my life, I was like a big junkie of news all the time, but I have reduced it. And what I want to replace it with, to some extent, is whimsy, whimsical humor, because maybe that will cut through. All right? I'm already not feeling like I've broken through with my own political analysis, but I do want to be an influencer, and I'm thinking that the best way to influence is change the mood. We need a mood change, man. So I look back in my life, and I see there's been a lot of whimsy and humor, a lot of whimsical humor. And it started with my father, really did, because I loved to be physically close with him. Why? Because of his head. Now that sounds a little absurd, but no, I'll explain. His head, round and bald, mostly bald, and a really good smile, was what I called a comf, C-O-M-F, but it wasn't exactly a term of the word comfortable, even though it sounds like that. A comf was something, an object, that enticed you, encouraged you, invited you to pat it, to squeeze it, to hold it. I did that with my father a lot. Of course, at some age, he didn't want me to do that anymore. But besides patting his head, I started to see lots of other versions of comf. And I won't go into that in detail, but lots of animals can have comf, stuffed animals, like over there. Your cat, your dog, you know, like pugs. Yeah, pugs. They're not pretty, but they're so comf. Okay, so comf carried me through a certain part of my life. And then I hit the stage, the age, where love, or a crush, or a girlfriend, or flirting had to take over. And it did, in a very whimsical, let's say, fantasy type way, which was, I had a dream about Mary. Now, I had the dream because my mother had told me 2 years earlier that Mary's mother had told her that Mary had a crush on me. But it didn't affect me. It just went past me because I was only, let's say, 8. It took 2 years for that memory or that knowledge to come up. And of course, it was April. And what's April in Washington, D.C. and Maryland? It is springtime, and it is gorgeous with cherry blossoms and apple blossoms and bumblebees and great smells. So I woke up from a dream that I had with Mary, or the dream was about Mary. And I'm walking to school, elementary school, and there is Mary outside the school. There's a little playground where we hung out before school. She was looking at me. There's no doubt she was looking at me. If we had it on instant replay right now from the NFL, you would see she was looking at me. And I was just blown away because what was the explanation? Only that she had the same dream about me. Of course, this did not last as a long relationship. It was just a flirtation. And all the other kids noticed it. And they didn't really make fun of it. Well, maybe they did. They sang Johnny and Mary sitting in a tree, Kissing. Now, you know, nowadays, you know, kids at age 10 are way past that because of internet and all the things that have polluted their innocence. So this might have been age 7, but it was age 10. And then fast forward about Mary, I lost touch with her because I thought she was one of the snobs. I thought she was just hanging out with the blonde kids. And then one day, when I was 12, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And we heard about it at school, 7th grade. And we went out into the hallways, and it was like pandemonium of grief. And soon after, in that pandemonium, I saw Mary, and she saw me, and we reconnected. Many other loves like that in my life, kind of like fantasies, kind of like dreams. I can't hold on to them really. They're just memories, but they're good memories. And there's other ones that happen at later ages. Well, let's move forward to like age 17, when I was, let's say, a hippie, and I had long hair, and I was doing marijuana, and I wanted to experiment with LSD. And one night, with my friend Tony, who was experienced with LSD and was supposed to be my guide. A guide is someone who stays with you through the whole trip. Suddenly, we're on a beach, and I think it's a Friday night, and it's summer, and suddenly he says that he has to go home. He has to go home. And I was the one who drove. Okay, why did he have to go home? Well, he lived with his parents, and they were kind of strict, and they said he had to be home at a certain time. So I said, Tony, what am I supposed to do about driving, and what do I do when I get home to my place? And he said, you're going to love this. The driving will take care of itself. Now, is there any member of Mothers Against Drunk Driving or any member of the Massachusetts State Police who would buy that slogan or would buy that statement? Of course not. But it did. It was only a 2.5 mile drive, maybe less. I get home, get out of the car, knock on the door, which is locked. Locked, I think, because it was kind of late, or maybe because they wanted to question me. The door opened, it was my father. The same father who still had a comf, but he wasn't in a comf mood. He looked questioning. He looked interrogating. And he said very quickly, when I said, I love you, Dad, he didn't take that at face value. He said, you're stoned. And he started chasing me around the dining room table. And my mother was saying things also. And I finally yelled, I'm not stoned. I'm tripping on acid. Pretty big mistake. But that's the kind of guy I was. Fortunately, my mother told him to go upstairs and calm down, which he did for the whole night. And I stayed up the whole night with my mother, trying to explain to her what was going on inside my brain or my head. And we put it on an audio tape, an old reel-to-reel tape recorder. And where's that tape? I don't know. It's probably in the bottom of a box somewhere, maybe in Amherst. Anyway, my mother stayed up with me the whole night. And I talked, I think, through the whole night on the tape. I don't remember, but I know that it was like really getting things out. And part of the reason that I needed to get it out was that I was working that summer at WGBH TV, Channel 2, Boston, just as sort of an intern, a paid intern, in the studio. And I was fascinated by the cameras and by the mixing things and the editing. I wasn't a techno guy, still am not. But of course, I got caught up in that. And I thought, damn, there's got to be a way that TV technology, camera technology, video technology could tell people what it was like to be tripping, in order so people would understand and not feel afraid of it and not condemn it. So that's what I was talking about. Another fantasy, another form of whimsy. And I want to tell you about moving forward again about love as a form of whimsy. Or let's say attraction. Let's say sexual attraction. Now at age 17, the same summer 68, we're all smoking marijuana at the Boston Commons. Now, how do you get away with that, man? It was before it was legal. Because there were so many people, the police couldn't come in and arrest anybody. One of the first days I was there, I was walking as though I was like a prophet, as though I fashioned myself as a prophet. And I wanted to look really attractive. And I came upon this beautiful woman, young woman, probably the same age as me, and we traded information, found out she lived out in Marlboro. Didn't even know where that was. Her name was Cherie. But I was leaving the next day for Chicago with my friends. And in Chicago, there were police-run, police-initiated riots the entire time when we were there protesting the Vietnam War and the Democratic Party convention, because Hubert Humphrey was sort of backing Johnson and the war. Anyway, I wanted to go there for the hippie festival. It was called Festival of Life. And I was sitting under a tree feeling pretty poetic, and I was stoned. And all of a sudden, people came up to us and passed out these flyers that said that Tom Hayden had been arrested and was being held really close by at police precinct. They wanted all of us to march on the police station and demonstrate on behalf of Tom Hayden, who became famous, very famous. So I didn't want to go, but I channeled my energy, my hippie, poetic energy, into militant politics. And we chanted and so forth. And then there were other things that even got worse. I won't go into that too much. But all I know is that because I kept meeting people from California at Chicago, I knew I wanted to go to California. Well, I was only entering 12th grade. And as a matter of fact, I didn't know where I was going to school in 12th grade. That's a long story. So I thought, because I knew somebody had done that, I will move to California and just enroll at Berkeley High School. Why not? What's there to lose? Go figure. And later on, I actually taught at Berkeley High School. But I didn't quite make it because the police at the time were out to stop hippies. Now, I don't know if I was a hippie. I think I was just a searcher, a wanderer, alienated, maybe a would-be poet. But I was labeled, put in that category. And me and Ronnie were arrested, put in jail, along with Tony. I forgot. Me and Ronnie and Tony were put in jail in Hartford, Connecticut, in the youth wing, in the adolescent wing, up to age 18 of the prison in Hartford for 2.5 days without any chance to call a lawyer or to get representation, anything. We were indicted, we were arraigned, they shaved our heads, the whole shtick. But we did get some redress after. But one thing I haven't mentioned is that I had, that summer, the sexiest car I ever owned. It was a 1960 Plymouth, white, with a black top convertible and a red, I think it was leather, maybe faux leather interior. And it was a 4-door, and it was amazing. So I remember this stuff, and I know that the story my telling stories and my living stories and my channeling stories is the best way for me to remain healthy and productive and not too depressed. Because without a story, you're going to go back to nostalgia, but nostalgia is going to feel like remorse and envy and a lot of rejection, and a lot of, oh my God, what if? But with a story, you can shape the past. And because the story has, let's say, 3 acts, acts 1 and 2 can get synthesized into act 3, and 3 is the magic number in the whole world, and act 3 can redeem it. Thank you.